Good morning, everyone. It's 8 a.m. in New York and 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, where the Dodgers beat the Blue Jays in a crazy 18-inning game, 6-5, in a walk-off from Freddie Freeman. This was the third game of the World Series. It ended at 2:31 a.m. Eastern today. Michelle,
Crazy.
They basically played two baseball games.
Right, two baseball games, and I went to bed at the end of the 14th inning because I tried. I was like, I'm staying. Yeah, and I was like, I need to get my 8 hours in tonight. That didn't happen, but you know what? I woke up kind of half expecting the game to be still going on.
Crazy. Okay, well, everybody, welcome to the Mayday Morning Show. New reporting from the Washington Post is raising questions about one of the most consequential legal decisions of the Trump era, how special counsel Jack Smith's classified documents case unraveled in a Florida courtroom. The paper reports that federal prosecutors had compiled what many inside the Justice Department viewed as an overwhelming evidence that Donald Trump willfully kept and concealed highly classified materials at his Mar-a-Lago estate, records that included top secret intelligence about U.S. defense capabilities. That's what he kept in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, Michelle. But behind the scenes, according to the Post, Smith and his team ignored repeated warnings about the venue, that filing the case in Florida would all but guarantee assignment to Judge Aileen Cannon, a Trump appointee who had previously ruled in the former president's favor during earlier stages of the investigation. Well, when the case did land on Cannon's docket, critics say Smith's fears came true. In a sweeping ruling this year, Cannon dismissed the indictment entirely, declaring that the special counsel's appointment itself was unconstitutional, effectively voiding what had been considered the government's strongest criminal case against Trump. Michelle, it was like the fates conspired to bring this man back into the White House. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy to me is that they had him dead to rights. He did not return those documents. Yeah. He kept them in a box in a bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, which we all know from previous reporting is effectively a spy central meeting, because all you have to do is join Mar-a-Lago to be able to gain entry.
So, which is what, like $250,000 a year or something. So if you're like a
Chinese, is not a lot. Yeah.
Right. Like, so if you're a rich person or you are a Russian spy or like, there's no vetting here, right? It's like they don't give a shit about any of that. They just want your money and they just want you to show up. I mean, here's the thing with that is that, to your point, it was the strongest criminal case against Donald Trump. We all remember when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, like what big, huge news that was. The pictures of the boxes piled up in the bathroom. This is beyond just the criminality of it, the lack of respect for our laws, our Constitution. This is just another example of Donald Trump thinking the rules don't apply to him and that everything belongs to him. He took them because he's like, well, I'm just going to take them. Like, who's going to stop me? And we didn't stop him.
Yeah, I mean, nobody. Look, you and I talked about this yesterday offline. We can talk about it here. I went on MSNBC yesterday, and I said something that was very shocking to the anchor who was anchoring the show, Chris Jansing, who is a wonderful woman. So this is not a knock on her. She's actually she's good people in every way. But I did say that the topic turned to Trump's statement aboard Air Force One as he was flying to Asia about who was going to succeed him in 28. And he was kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'll run, maybe I won't. You tell me. Right. But, we have good people here. Also, we have J.D. Vance and Rubio. And if those two teamed up together, they would be unstoppable. But maybe not, kind of hedging on whether he was going to run again. And this comes on top of Steve Bannon going on the BBC, I believe. I think it was some British show. I think it was at the BBC saying,
I feel like it was like Bloomberg, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Whatever it was. Maybe it was a British woman who interviewed him. Maybe it was Bloomberg. Yeah. Whoever it was, Financial Times. I don't remember. Anyway, saying that he was going to, you should count on it. It's going to be Trump 28. Get used to it. And, So the question was asked at MSNBC yesterday, which one did I think was strongest? Was it Rubio or was it Vance? And I kind of laughed.
Like, it's just like I'm sorry, it's a dumb question.
He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. And if you don't believe us, look at what he did with those documents at Mar-a-Lago. He does not care about the law. He does not care about the Constitution. He does not care about norms. Norms exist to be shattered. That is the only reason norms are important to them, so they can be shattered. And ultimately, I think what's going on here is that, as you always say, this is a Michelle Kinney special. I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to steal it from you. There's a lack of imagination here. How much more does this man have to tell us for people to believe what he was doing?
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. And listen, I don't think any of us enjoy being correct about any of this stuff, right? Like, I don't get any rise out of this. But in the days leading up to January 6th, I remember being on Facebook. This is when I was still on Facebook, being like, guys, he's going to stage a coup. Guys, he's going to stage a coup. And I remember some Bernie bro yelling at me in my comments, telling me that I was inciting, whatever this, and I was being hysterical and I need to stop spreading misinformation. And lo and behold, days later. And I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, this guy has shown us over and over and over again that he will do whatever he wants. And the Republicans around him, the ones in Congress, the ones in the Senate, are so terrified of him, which I don't understand. Like, Donald Trump is like a mob boss. Okay, whatever. But he's also like an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I've never understood the fear that people have for this man.
Because I'll tell you what it is. Two things. One is he can summon a mob in 2 seconds to go after any of them.
Yeah.
And you know who knows that better than anybody else? The MAGA justices on the Supreme Court, which is why they're going to give him everything he wants. Because if he could send a mob to the west front of the Capitol, he could send a mob to the west front of the Supreme Court, which is around the corner and across the street. That's one. Two, he is deeply vindictive.
Yeah.
And has no respect for norms. So if he could sick a U.S. attorney on Jim Comey or Tish James or, probably Adam Schiff this week, he could sick it on anybody on the Republican side who's not going to agree with him. But, I see in the comments here that Morning Joe said that he's just trolling us.
Oh my God.
This is why I this whole talk of a third. And I have to tell you guys, this is why we started the show, because I don't think Donald Trump has ever trolled us in his life.
No.
Give me an example of when Donald Trump just trolled. He has never trolled.
No.
He told you what he's going to do. And anybody who thinks he's a troll, he's not. He's not a troll. He will do what he says he's going to do. I don't understand why this is something that's shocking to
anyone.
Anybody. Please give me an example. When has he ever trolled? Please, somebody. Tell me.
I mean, he makes like grotesque comments and jokes. I mean, about what's his face's penis, the golfer.
That's not trolling. That's him.
Right, I know, that's what I mean. It's like he's like disgusting. He's a child.
Yeah, but when has he been like, let me say something stupid to just trigger the libs?
Right, just to like own the libs. Like, he says stuff.
Yeah.
To get attention sometimes, but it's never a troll. There's always a deeper meaning or goal attached to it. And he likes all attention. That's the other thing. All attention is good to him. All press is good press to him, whether it's bad or good. And that goes back to the 80s, living in New York and calling the New York Post and telling them whomever he's sleeping with. I mean, this is again, this guy has been telling us who he is for 40, 50 years. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
And again, and the Roy Cohn of it all, right? The Roy Cohn of it all, his mentor.
Yeah.
We know. Right. Who worked for McCarthy during the McCarthy hearings and then, went on to advise Donald Trump. And in the end, Donald Trump kicked him to the curb too before he died. But this guy, I mean, had no morals, He had no, spine other than one to just stick it in other people. And he told Donald Trump, even when you lose, pretend you win. I mean, all of these tactics, I mean, Donald Trump's always been a piece of shit, but I think a lot of these tactics come from Roy Cohn telling and teaching Donald Trump all of the things that he does now.
Yeah.
And then, combine that with the fact that he's a terrible person and he's a bully and he's a rapist and he's a thief. I mean, you've got a monster. This is a monster on our hands, and he is the most powerful person in the world.
Yeah, without any guardrails this time.
Mm-hmm.
Zero guardrails. And I think that's something that's really important to remember, that in the first term, there were people who said to him, oh, you can't do this. This isn't right. This is against the Constitution. It's against the law. He has now spent 4 years in exile with those Mar-a-Lago documents in the bathroom, plotting for this moment. And there is not one person around him, not one, who will tell him that he can't do something. In fact, if they tell him he can't do something, he fires them, which is what he did with a Trump appointee, his very own appointee in the Eastern District, who refused to indict Comey because the evidence wasn't there, refused to indict Tish James because the evidence wasn't there. Well, now you've got a huge amicus brief. I don't know if you saw this, Michelle, that people filed on behalf of Comey saying that this is a stupid case. It should never have been brought. Let's figure it out. And again, what's scary about this is it's the luck of the draw. What judge are you going to get?
Right. Because we're not dealing with like conservative, liberal, or these people, they are complete ideologues, and then they bow to their master. I mean, they were hand selected by Donald Trump and the Federalist Society.
Well, not even, he's not turned on the Federalist Society. That's the thing. You have people in the Federalist Society who were quote unquote originalists, right?
Right. They were.
These people are not originalists.
No.
By the way,
I mean, I have very strong feelings about the Federalist Society, but it's
as do I.
But I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, but the point is, if you're a member of the Federalist Society who's a MAGA-ist, then you're his kind of judge. But if you're not a member of the Federalist Society, if you're a member of the Federalist Society who's like, no, thank you, doesn't want any part of you, that's what we're seeing in the Supreme Court, which is why, there's an article in the New Republic. We could talk about it further tomorrow, maybe. There's an article in the New Republic all about how Trump is failing. And Trump is failing because he's trying to bring all of these people to heel. He's trying to fire all of these federal workers, and all of these district judges are saying, no, you can't fire them. You have to reinstate them. And Trump is all tied up, and everybody's so despondent. Even Curtis Yarvin is despondent. Curtis Yarvin is going all negative, and Curtis Yarvin is now threatening to leave the country because things are going so poorly. And I'm laughing at this. And I'm thinking, you think because a bunch of district judges said no to Trump, that he's not going to immediately appeal, and that eventually the Supreme Court is going to allow him to do whatever he wants?
And he can order the SEAL Team 6 to go drag you out of your house, and it's not against the law. Like, that's the other thing. Like, people don't realize how far this man is going to go. I remember when I was at LP, we made a video after January 6th about January 6th and the cult and all the things. And there is actually a clip of you, Julie. This is before I knew you. And it says, and you say in it, there is no amount of sycophancy that will ever be enough for this man. And it's like Mary Trump's book, too much and never enough. And there is no line. Don't like that. I won't be surprised if he orders the military to go after John Roberts if John Roberts didn't do
100%. And you know who knows that? John Roberts.
This isn't going to happen. I'm like, what are you smoking?
I think because we live in this country that has never had anything like this happen before. I think that our citizens have gotten complacent. And I don't think we know their history because we don't live in the kind of country where people think this is going to happen. But let me tell you something about how it's going to go. And I'm so sorry that I'm not letting people smoke opium on this channel.
No.
And somehow feel great about what's happening.
No.
Here is what people like Donald Trump do. As Michelle said, as Mary Trump said, it is never enough. Eventually, he will turn on even his closest advisors because there will always need to be an enemy. And when these enemies, people like Michelle and I, are vanquished, which you'll have to jog me off to the gulag before that happens. But, then he'll turn to the people in his inner circle because he's getting older, he's getting more paranoid. Those people will not be enough, right? So you're not towing the line there. And even if you are towing the line, the paranoia will seep in and he will get rid of those people because he won't believe that.
Every dictator, every authoritarian throughout history has done this. They run out of people. They run out of ways. And that's the thing is like on top of all of this, it's not like he's some young, unhinged person. He is an old, senile, feeble, mentally unwell person who is also physically unwell, very clearly, and is saying things. He's in Asia right now, right? And he's saying all kinds of crazy shit over there, telling American troops to buy Toyotas. And then on the plane they asked if he'd watched the World Series or if he'd been watching the World Series. And he said, no, not really, but I sure wish they put Pete Rose in.
What? Pete Rose is dead.
Correct.
And Pete Rose, just to be clear, of all the people he could have chosen.
Oh, I know.
Of all the people he could have chosen, there are very many great baseball players who are still alive, who are a billion years old, or dead. Could have been, I wish they would have put Mickey Mantle in. I wish they would have put Babe Ruth in.
Wait, I was like, oh, what's next? Babe Ruth?
Okay, fine. But he chose the cheater. He chose the guy that illegally bet on baseball. Right? Yeah. Like he's so
he doesn't think it's fair,
Yeah.
But I'm like, what?
He's
just
so
what
corrupt.
A weird thing to say.
But he's so corrupt that even his crazy deranged fantasies are corrupt.
I know.
I
saw that. I had to watch it back like 3 times because I was like, am I losing my marbles? I was like, I don't understand how these people around him don't look at this guy and listen to the shit that he's saying and think, wow, this guy is several French fries short of a Happy Meal. Maybe it's time for us to be done with this and move on. But it's
because people like Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski and all of these people are like, oh no, he's just trolling us. He's just trolling us with that Pete Rose comment. Folks, he's not trolling. He's not trolling. He's really mentally ill. He's not a well man. And I have to tell you, his father had dementia. His uncle had dementia. It has not been reported, but I know people who knew his sister because she was in the she had dementia towards the end of her life. It is endemic in that family.
Yes.
And there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a
horrible it happens to many.
I have people in my family who had dementia as they got older. Like it's not anything.
It's the cruelest thing. It really is.
Yes, it's not anything to be embarrassed about. But he is 70. What? He's 78. He's going to be 79 next year.
79 next year.
He's got dementia because we don't talk about Pete Rose being in the World Series. He's living in the 1980s. That was his heyday in his mind.
Right.
He was going out and sleeping with models, partying with, whatever, the people.
And possibly children.
And when I say models, I mean very, very young models. Hanging out with Epstein. Hanging out with a bunch of really unsavory people in New York, also in that world. Hanging out with Roy Cohn. But that was the decade that he jumped in his mind from being a Queens outer borough loser, this is his words, not anything that I would ever say, to being in Manhattan.
Yep.
Being in the tabloids. And suddenly the boy from Queens had made it.
That's right. And the last thing I'll say about this before we move on is, again, I don't talk about often all this work that I did at LP, but I actually think that I want to start talking about it more because of all the experiences that I had doing this. And one of them was making an ad for Donald Trump, using AI to recreate the voice of his father.
Yep.
And I wrote a line in there. I didn't write the whole thing, but I did write a line that was like, I may have lost my business, but I never lost my mind. And we know for a fact that he saw this ad on his phone and replayed it over and over and over and over again. I'm just saying. It's probably the first time he'd heard his father's voice in years, but also I think that part of him, and it's why he's been talking about going to heaven, looking, his parents are looking down at him or up, um, you know, but either way, Donald Trump is a terrible person and a problem that I don't know how we get rid of.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Well, more than 100 former officials from the Department of Justice have filed a joint amicus brief urging a federal judge in Virginia to dismiss the indictment against James Comey, calling the prosecution vindictive and driven by political animus rather than impartial justice. They argue the case, which accuses Comey of lying to Congress and obstructing a proceeding, was initiated only after career prosecutors declined to proceed and a politically aligned U.S. attorney was installed at the last minute. James Comey pleaded not guilty and is fighting to have the charges dismissed, claiming his prosecution violates longstanding norms of prosecutorial discretion and fairness. Any chance the DOJ will stop with these political indictments if a judge actually voids Comey's conviction? And because the word on the street is that Adam Schiff may be next. I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, Julie. What do you think?
I mean, no, he's not going to stop. He doesn't care about these judges. We talked about this in the earlier segment, but I think it bears having its own discussion, which is he believes that the Justice Department was weaponized against him. The Justice Department was not weaponized against him.
Right.
As we saw in this story in the Washington Post we just discussed, he literally had military secrets in a bathroom in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, like, rationally speaking, whether you have the right to have it or you don't, he claims he did. He obviously did not. But let's say that he had the right to have it. Is that really where you store stuff? Like, where people could just come through anytime? People, anybody else? So he thinks everything was weaponized against him. He just filed a petition to the Supreme Court to have his conviction in New York State dismissed because he was president at the time. Now, that's not a federal case.
Right.
And that also has nothing to do with him being president. That had to do with his years at the Trump organization. I think the court will probably give him what he wants. Again, they don't want to show down on him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't care. He's going to use the Justice Department for revenge. He said that in the very beginning. I am your retribution.
I am your retribution. That's right.
And that's all he cares about. And I will tell you that I will never, and I mean ever, vote for any president who does not promise to bring these people to justice. And I mean Lizzie Halligan, who is the U.S. attorney in the Eastern District, who signed the indictment because nobody else would. If you notice, nobody else put their signature on that indictment except her. Pam Bondi, Ash Patel, all of these people.
Yep.
All of these people. I mean, is he going to give them a pardon on his way out the door, which will never happen because he will die in office? But is he ever going to give them a pardon? I don't know that he cares enough about them to give them a pardon. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
I think it depends on who can serve him. I mean, the reason that he pardoned people like Steve Bannon is because he still had things to extrapolate from him. That's just my opinion, is he was useful. And I think that he was more useful to him out of prison. And so that's why he got him out, and he needs him for the base. Because Steve Bannon can talk to a certain amount of his base that others can't.
Yeah, although he and Bannon have a very frenemy type relationship, I think. But
I believe so. But they're useful to each other.
They're useful to each other, exactly. I mean, Bannon wouldn't be nobody without Trump, and Trump, I think, as you said, needs Bannon to talk to, and float all these wacko conspiracy theories that then become reality.
I mean, Steve Bannon, what was he? Where did he? Biosphere? Is that where Steve Bannon was doing? Do you remember Biosphere?
I don't remember Biosphere. What was Biosphere?
Am I saying it right? Remember the thing that they all lived in for like a year? There was like this big like globe thing, and all the scientists and like think tanky people like lived in it for like a year.
Oh, yes.
He lived in that. I think it was like Biosphere 2 or something.
Steve Bannon did?
Yeah. I'm telling you, he did. Hold on.
These people are wackadoodles. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, it does matter because it's crazy. But to this discussion.
Yes, Biosphere 2. Yes.
Yeah. So the point is, I didn't know Bannon lived in that. Oh God. Can you imagine living with Steve Bannon and his 27
No.
shirts that he wears?
27 shirts, and you know he smells bad.
Yeah. And
the more you know.
His weirdo. Anyway, so look, Trump is very, very, very clear that he's never going to stop, and nobody's going to stop him. Nobody.
No.
The court says that if you're president, you can do it. Now, I guarantee you, if a Democrat becomes president, they will suddenly find a reason that that no longer is applicable, which is why they're putting out all of these decisions kind of on the docket, because they don't want to actually give explanations for what they're doing, because God forbid somebody actually might use them
right
to help somebody who they don't want to help. But he's not going anywhere. And Aileen Cannon is probably going to be elevated to the appeals court, and if not, to the Supreme Court when there's a vacancy, because he just doesn't care.
No, he
doesn't care. So the answer to your question is no. I don't think he will ever, ever, ever stop.
But I do think that Adam Schiff is next.
Oh, yes.
Adam Schiff is next, for sure.
Yeah, Adam Schiff is next, and then whoever else he wants to find. I'm not sure why Adam Schiff is next, other than he did a good job on the impeachment stuff.
I just think he just doesn't like him.
Yeah, Shifty Schiff, right? So he's going to go after him. He's going to go after him, and then whoever else he wants to go after. Listen, he's coming for all of us. He's coming for all of us.
Yeah. And listen, I know people sometimes in the comments, people in our lives are always worried about us, and I'm just like, listen, it's a long line. We're all in it. You know, what would you rather do? Let this guy have it all? Let these people take everything that is near and dear to us as Americans? I don't think so. I don't think so.
And what are you going to tell your grandchildren?
That's
honestly,
right.
Like, what are you going to tell your grandchildren?
That's a really good point.
And not just your grandchildren, but what are you going to say to yourself on your deathbed? I truly believe that. Like, when you're looking at yourself and you're thinking about your life and you're thinking about all the stuff that you did.
Yep.
At this very precise moment, in some ways, I feel, Michelle, this is going to sound crazy. We've been given this opportunity in life to really make a difference. All of us. I mean, all of us to speak up.
I agree. In so many ways.
Previous generations had that during World War II, but not since. And, you know, do you want to be Victor Laszlo, or do you want to be somebody else? Like, that's how I look at it. And not all of us, again, are given the opportunity to be Adam Schiff, but in our own small way, either we stand up to this, or I think from my perspective, what are you even doing here? Then you're Joe Mika, right? Then you're running down to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee because you're so concerned about your contract at Comcast or whoever the hell, owns MSNBC now, that you just don't care. And if that's important to you, then that's you'll have to meet your conscience on your deathbed and wonder, was it worth it? And the answer to me is no, it was not.
It's not. And until then, vive la France. Vive la France.
Vive la liberté. Remember that?
Yes. Vive la liberté.
Vive la liberté.
So good. So good.
All right. Let's move on.
Moving on.
Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
All right. 2 House Republicans, write these names down because of all the wackos, they seem the wackiest. Randy Fine of Florida, who just got there, and Andy Ogles of Tennessee, who's a wacko, are calling on the U.S. Department of Justice to launch an investigation into Zoran Mamdani's naturalization in 2018, alleging he failed to disclose key affiliations on a citizenship form. Ogles actually said that, quote, in 2018 when he was naturalized, he being Mamdani, he failed to disclose some of the things he had been doing, one of which was joining the Democratic Socialists of America. That's a communist organization, which quite frankly at that time would have disqualified him from becoming a United States citizen.
That's what?
Fine, meanwhile, called on the feds to review every naturalization, this is I'm quoting him, over the past 30 years, starting with Mamdani. Okay. First of all, I had to do my math. I was like, did I get naturalized more than 30 years ago? And the answer is yes, I did. So I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. But since when is joining the Democratic Socialists of America, or even the Communist Party, which of course Mamdani did not join,
Right.
when did that prevent you from becoming a citizen of the United States? What is anti-American about joining any of these parties and expressing the
Nothing.
First Amendment right
Right.
to
I mean,
affiliate with whoever you want?
Right. I mean, first of all, the DSA has been been around a really long time.
Yep.
They're a little ridiculous. I mean, there's a really great video. I hope people will go. There's a DSA convention where it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Anyways, but that's beside the point. Doesn't matter. He has every right to do that. And he's lived here the majority of his life. And these people, I think there's a few things here. I think they're afraid of him. I think they're afraid of this brand or flavor of populism. I also think, though, that they just hate him. And I think that they just want to troll people and they want to troll the left. So I think that, at least from these people, I think it is at least a little bit of a troll. And I think it's also just a power grab. It's a flex. I mean, do you remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene seemed like the craziest person in Congress? And now it's just like, oof, she almost seems normal, which is a crazy thing to say out loud.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And if we are going back to the last 30 years, let's review how Melania Trump got here. Right? Because I'm seeing all of them basically saying we have to get, I forgot who said this. It might have been one of these wackos. We have to review chain migration. We have to review, like, if you got here because your parents got here, or we have to arrest you. We have to arrest the people that you brought in. Okay, that's Melania's dad.
Yeah.
That's Melania.
I mean, eventually it's all of us, but yeah, it's like, I mean, to a degree, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, where does it end? Where does it?
And listen, you and I have talked about this before. Zohran Mamdani's not my cup of tea, but they are terrified of him.
Yeah.
Because he is young. He's charismatic as hell.
Yep. Very smart.
He's very smart. He's bringing in all sorts of young people who've never been involved before.
Yeah.
The Charlie Kirk project and the Ben Shapiro project of turning that generation into conservatives, or not even conservatives, into their wacko brand of MAGA, would fail if Zohran Mamdani were a candidate everywhere, because he has been able to bring people in like that.
Yep. And especially if you look at the kind of voters that Zohran Mamdani is getting in New York. I mean, it's like the college educated, it's like higher income brackets. I mean, and young people. It's a very interesting. When I was looking at the data breakdown after the primary, I was like, what, really? But it makes sense. But it's a pretty broad coalition of folks who really like him. And I know every time we talk about this, people come for us in the comments. I don't particularly enjoy him. It has nothing to do with, it rubs me the wrong way. But I will say also the stuff that's coming from the right, the New York Post, right wing, media, it is disgusting on a level. Listen, there's a difference between not liking a candidate for policy positions or whatever it is, and this, like, making comparisons to 9/11. I saw one thing that was going around with a picture of that poor man who worked at Windows in the World, jumping to his death, using that photograph to attack Mamdani. I'm like, are you sick? These people are sick.
They're sick.
What's wrong with you?
The Islamophobia is so gross.
It's awful. It is
so disgusting. And they're going after his aunt.
Like, I'm just like, what's wrong with you?
And it's like, okay, listen, you know why I don't like Zohran Mamdani? I don't like his policies. I think he's full of shit. Like, I think he's promising things that he's not going to be able to deliver. That's my problem with Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I'm just kind of like, ugh, you know what I mean?
I don't like the fact that he said that Israel should not be a Jewish nation. Like, I don't like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's my personal preference. What I cannot abide is the fact that they're going after him.
Yeah.
Because he is Muslim. That is the only reason they're going after him. And they're trying to imply that somehow, because he's Muslim, he's going to turn all of us into some Sharia law city. Like, get over yourself. This guy is not, first of all, Andrew Cuomo is leaning into this so hard. It's disgusting.
It
actually makes me so turned off by Cuomo that if I ever even remotely considered voting for him, which I did not, but if I ever remotely considered voting for him, I wouldn't. My husband, who did consider voting for him and will vote for Cuomo, I think, fortunately, was so grossed out that he's like, maybe I should just vote for Sliwa. And I was like, all right, get over yourself.
Oh God. No,
like he was kind of joking, but I mean, like, that's how turned off even Cuomo voters are.
Right. And and that's the thing too, is like Cuomo is so much like Trump. He's so much, they're birds of a feather, the two of them. And I'm sure, listen, I've heard rumors that Cuomo is somewhere near the Epstein list. Like, these are just a rumor that I'm hearing. I don't know if that's true. So, take that for what it is. But would you be surprised? I wouldn't be. And the thing is, listen, New York City is one of the most diverse places on earth. There are more languages spoken in the borough of Queens than anywhere else on planet Earth. We all live in close proximity to each other here. That's what makes this place so special. That's what makes New York the greatest city in the world. And these people from other parts of the country, like, what's his name? Like the people, what are their names?
Ogles.
Randy Fine and Andy Ogles.
Andy Ogles.
Where are they from? I don't even know where they're from. Doesn't matter.
Tennessee and Florida. Fine is from Florida.
Well, there we go.
From Tennessee.
Not to demonize people from that part of the country, but they certainly have no problem demonizing us and the people who live here, and the different faiths and backgrounds and ethnicities of people who live here, and demonizing them. I mean, like, you cannot like Mamdani for whatever reason, but not for that reason. That is these people have there is no bar too low for them. I actually thought after all this time we were better than this. I don't know. I feel naive. But every so often these people really surprise me in a way that I didn't think was possible anymore. Yeah. And the attacks on him are horrendous. I will say the one thing I saw about Mamdani that gave me I was actually very happy about. I saw that he's vowed to keep Jessica Tisch as police commissioner, which I thought
whether she stays or not is a different story, because a lot of the things that she's done, and she's done an incredible job.
Yeah.
Publicly opposed, so he'd have to give her free reign to do what she wants. He did an interview, I think, the other day, basically saying she works for me and I'm the mayor. I'm going to set the tone. I don't know that that's a good way to keep somebody like a Jessica Tisch. Yeah, who was very good.
She's good at her job. She's good at her job. So when he said that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
well, we'll see. Anyway, all right. Moving on. It says here about the temper tantrum that Trump had with respect to Ontario, Canada, which ran an ad quoting Ronald Reagan, talking about how much he hates tariffs. Well, a former advisor to Reagan is blasting the White House for what he calls a petty and dishonest reaction to a Canadian trade ad that quoted Reagan. Mm-hmm. Bruce Bartlett, who served in both the Reagan and George H.W. Bush administrations, slammed Trump after the president accused Ontario's government of, quote unquote, misrepresenting Reagan's stance on tariffs. Trump retaliated by canceling trade talks with Canada and slapping a new 10% tariff on Canadian imports. In a post on X, Bartlett wrote, quote, "Our asshole president is the biggest baby in the history of the earth. The Canadian ad that hurt his feelings was 100% accurate. I know, I worked for Ronald Reagan in the White House." Now, Trump insists Reagan supported tariffs, but Bartlett fired back that the White House is, quote unquote, lying about Reagan's free trade record, even linking to Reagan's 1987 trade speech warning that tariffs lead to, quote, retaliation, trade wars, and lost jobs. I don't really care about what Bartlett had to say. I mean, I'm glad he put that out there and clarified. Yeah. I don't really care that Trump is lying about what Reagan said about tariffs, because I couldn't care less about Ronald Reagan, who, much like P. Rose, is dead. But what I do care about is that we have a president who is so sensitive that he slapped tariff on our number one
whole ass
trading
country.
partner
Yeah.
because he didn't like an ad that the premier of Ontario put out, and Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, pulled the ad back as soon as Trump did that. Why would you do that? And Trump, by the way, was like, I don't care. They went too far. Because on October 24th, after Trump announced the cessation of talks with Canada, and Ford announced the province is pulling the ad, it didn't appease Trump, who called the move, called Ford's, I should say, pulling back of the ad, a dirty play. They could have pulled it tonight, Trump told reporters outside the White House, but I can play dirtier than they can. So first of all, to our Canadian friends, we're so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have this clip, Michelle, of Ford speaking to CNN yesterday about this.
Is this the Tapper clip?
Yes.
Yep, I have it right here.
Okay.
You said this morning that this was, quote, the most successful ad in the history of North America. Is the additional 10% tariff on Canadians also part of that success?
Well, first of all, Jake, thanks for having me on. I start off every interviewing saying that Canadians love Americans. I love America. I love Americans. I lived there for 20 years. And that my intention was to bring this to the American people and tell them that tariffs, protectionism does not work. Ronald Reagan was a free trader, the greatest president, in my opinion, ever. And we wanted to get the message out. And did the message get out? 100%. It had 11.4 billion with a B impressions. We talk in the media, but views around the world. And again, we just want to make sure that we work side by side with our closest friends and allies. A tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. President Trump ran on creating more jobs. We've seen 5 consecutive months, manufacturing jobs are down. We've seen inflation go up. That's not what President Trump ran on. And we want to be the solution. And the way we get back on track is sign a deal with your largest number one customer in the world, and that's Canada.
Okay. I have many things to say about this. First of all, I want people to watch this ad because it's really good. I'm going to play this.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
So good. So good. So here's the thing. Nothing triggers these people more than throwing their patron saint Ronald Reagan's words back at them. Nothing triggers them more because they love to lift him up and put him on a pedestal. It's very similar to, and I'm not comparing, just to be very clear, what they do with Jesus and all these other things. They like to, put these people up on a pedestal and then be completely hypocritical about their worship. I will say the audience of one thing works. I think it does 2 things. Number one, it triggers Trump. It makes him react. It makes him make mistakes. And when he makes mistakes, it exposes his weaknesses, which is helpful. The second thing is that it brings the message to the American people, like what he was saying, Ford was saying. And he was successful in that. Now, yes, it did end up with the 10% tariff thing. I mean, whether that's good or bad in the long run, I don't know. But I think that this was a successful venture just from where I sit. And I say that as someone who I was at Lincoln for 4 years. For 3 of those years, I essentially ran the creative department. I was not a part of the Morning in America ad that went super viral that put them on the map. It was like I didn't join LP for like another month after that, but Morning in America was a play on an ad from the 80s with Ronald Reagan in response to Donald Trump's catastrophic fumble on the COVID response. And Donald Trump reacted to it. And then I think it was in that moment that they realized you can target Donald Trump with ads. He is that fragile. He is that much of a snowflake that you can do this. And so we did, and we continue to do that for many years. One of the ads that we did attacking Donald Trump for slurring and like fumbling words and whatnot, we targeted to him, and he accused us of using AI to attack him. I remember we had to talk to several journalists reach out to us. I say that because he is accusing the Canadians of using AI to recreate Ronald Reagan's voice, but they didn't. All of this is true. Everything. Washington Post, Trump called a Canadian ad fake. It faithfully reproduces Reagan's words. I mean,
look, the part of this that drives me nuts is that they pulled the ad. And
yeah,
I don't know.
I thought that was stupid.
And I don't know if Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, called Doug Ford and said, please pull the ad because this is just bad for us. But the reality, and Doug Ford, by the way, is a conservative. Doug Ford is not some liberal. The truth of the matter is that the Republican Party that we all grew up around, we were not members of it, Michelle, but the Republican Party that I know is one that was always for free trade, and especially with our closest trading partner, the Canadians. And he has no problem giving Qatar a base on United States soil. He has no problem palling around with the Saudis. He has no problem hanging out with and begging Kim Jong-un for a meeting, which he desperately wants when he gets to South Korea. He wants to have a summit, quote unquote, with Kim Jong-un, who, by the way, is sending thousands of North Korean troops to Ukraine to slaughter Ukrainians as a favor to Vladimir Putin. That's what he's never mind what he's doing to
yeah.
the Canadians, because they're nice, because they're perceived as being decent, are not his cup of tea. The biggest problem that he's got with Canada is that Canada is decent. It's the same problem.
And he sees it as a weakness.
He sees that as a weakness. Same problem he's got with our European allies, right?
Or Democrats.
They're not strong men. The only reason he's tolerating Great Britain is because they have a king, and the king has done everything possible to keep Trump in the tent. You know, when he goes to France, he expects Macron to have another military parade and show him all of his guild, with a D. You know, the next time he goes to France, he just do it at Versailles. If Macron wants to impress him, just take him to Versailles. Right. Like, that's what you need to do with this guy. But the Canadians, because they're decent, because they're good human beings, because they have been our allies, our stalwart allies for the duration of this country, suddenly they have to be kicked to the curb. They have to be treated like second-class citizens. It is so infuriating to me that I don't think the Canadians should have backed down. In fact, I think if they hadn't backed down, he would have respected it more.
I think so too. Because he likes people that push back. He really does. And I think he sees it as a challenge. I think he sees it as a little bit of a game. It pisses him off and enrages him, I think, depending also, on the circumstance. But I think he would have respected. When I saw that they pulled it, I was like, what are you doing? That's the whole point. You don't back down. Because he's going to threaten you. He's going to send you cease and desist. He's going to make threats. He's going to do all these things. But Trump always chickens out. That's the thing.
He always
taco. You can't if you stand up to a bully like him, you will win eventually, because he'll get bored and whatever else. And that's the thing too, is the Reagan Presidential Foundation Institute put out a statement after this. The government of Ontario, Canada, created an ad campaign using selective audio and video of President Ronald Reagan, blah, 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 the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation Institute is reviewing its legal options in this matter. There's a whole other argument here. Legal options for what? First of all, this is fair use. It's fair use.
Well, they did it because they're terrified of Trump.
Right. And it's like another example here. And I mean, George Conway quote tweeted this with a video clip from 8 years ago that was posted. I mean, it's not from 8 years ago, but it was posted 8 years ago from the Reagan Library of this very address. That proves that all of this was right. And so Donald Trump on the 25th, 3 days ago, says Canada was caught red-handed putting up a fraudulent advertisement on Ronald Reagan's speech on tariffs. The Reagan Foundation said that they were created an ad campaign using selective audio. I mean, whatever, the same thing. He goes on and on, complains. You know, and Ford says, you know, mission accomplished.
First of all, shame on the Reagan Foundation because you just threw your own person who you exist to promote overboard. Are you claiming
evangelicals?
Are you sorry, Reagan Foundation? Are you claiming that Ronald Reagan was not a free trader? Because for those of us who lived in the 80s and were alive back then and were conscious, which I was, and I assume they were as well, he was 100% a free trader. I mean, 1,000% a free trader. That's one. So I don't know what out of context words that they took. They didn't take anything out of context. That's one. So I don't know why they backed down. And two, I'm sorry, Doug Ford. I don't care how much pressure you got from the Canadian government. If you did, you should not have backed down because this man respects nothing less than people who back down to him.
Exactly.
He's going to bully you more. That's why you have those tariffs on.
You got to be George McFly out in the parking lot and punch that guy, you know, punch his lights out. That's what you got to do. Because what is it? Biff never, you know, bothers George McFly again. That's what you have to do with these people. And it's, you know, and some of these tweets here says the Reagan speech is real. It's public domain, which it is. The Reagan Foundation, by the way, does not own the rights to this. Americans pay the cost of the 10% tariffs, not Canadians. Trump keeps lying because he thinks you're all too stupid to fact check him. Also correct. And the average family will pay an extra $4,900 this year because of Donald Trump's tariffs. That's the truth here.
And look, the fact that we're even having this debate, the fact that the AP had to do a fact check.
So dumb.
Absurd. I'm sorry. Look, what next? That Reagan didn't say tear down this wall? like what next? That Reagan didn't say it's morning in America? Listen, we have all been so brainwashed with Reagan's speeches over the last years that I can recite half of them. And, you know, anybody
our first ad for Seneca Project was called A Time for Choosing.
My point is
for a reason.
This is something that happened. And this rewriting of history is really dangerous. And that is what autocrats do. They rewrite history. So the reason we brought this up is not necessarily, I mean, partially it's to apologize to our Canadian friends. We're not all like this. We love you guys and we love Canada. And frankly, Michelle, we should road trip up there just to show some
I love Canada. We should go. I love it.
But the part that really is infuriating to me is that these people back down at the slightest, you know, his feelings are hurt. Oh, well, what, you know, then don't do it if you don't like being called out on it.
You have to listen. If you're going to go after this guy, which I think people should, you also have to be prepared for what you're going to get in return. And that's just part of it. And listen, a lot of people are scared. There are a lot of people who used to go after Trump a lot more in the last 4 years that they don't anymore because people are scared. I think that's a mistake.
There's nothing to be scared of. To quote another president, a far greater president than Ronald Reagan, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Amen.
That was 1934. That was Franklin Roosevelt's inaugural speech. And he was right. And we continue to believe that. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. That probably should be the motto for Mayday, actually, Michelle.
Absolutely.
But but the reality is that people have forgotten that. We haven't. But Joe Mika forgotten that. CNN has forgotten that. CBS has forgotten that.
Not Dickerson. He's resigned yesterday,
Not
right?
Dickerson's resigning, but hey, they're bringing in Scott Jennings apparently.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So all of these people have forgotten that. All the tech bros have forgotten that.
Mm-hmm. Hell, the Democrats have forgotten this. And I'm an ad person. Like I make ads and that's what I'm good at. But like, where's the money? Where is the money in these organizations? Future Forward, all these places. You can make ads for not that much money. I guarantee that ad was just made with stock and sound on tape. That was it.
Yep.
It was not an expensive venture. You can make that and place it. The most amount of money you're going to pay for is placement, and it will pay back in spades. Like it is worth it to make the ads and get out ahead of this shit now. Don't wait until 2 months before an election to be doing this stuff. You have to beat the drum constantly. And I don't understand why Democrats don't understand this. And that's why this ad could have been 1,000 times more successful if they had just kept it on the airwaves.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
But they fear him. And because they fear him, he's going to take advantage. Like all bullies do. If you give him your lunch money, he'll come for it again tomorrow.
That's right.
He'll come for more.
Yeah.
If you punch him in the face and you don't give him his lunch money, he'll stop.
George McFly.
Yeah. Or any 9-year-old boy.
Yep. Exactly.
It's just a fact. My son's best friend right now is a kid who was not nice to him. My son, contrary to my advice, like punched him or kicked him or something in like 3rd or 4th grade. They're now best friends. He never went after my son again. Now, I, of course, have to be like, oh, no, violence solves nothing. But I kind of did. And I still would say to him, violence really solves nothing.
I'm sure a lot of people of a different generation would agree with you about that. We're not supposed to say these things.
But you're not supposed to say this. But the truth is, it's, who does he cozy up to? Vladimir Putin. Kim Jong-un.
Viktor Orban.
Now Xi Jinping. Why? Because those people are not caving to him, and he respects it.
Yep.
And he respects it.
That's right.
So on that note, everybody, now that I've got myself all riled up, it's 9:00 on the East Coast. We got to go. We will see you all tomorrow. We may be back for a daily dispatch this afternoon. You never know.
Perhaps. And just a heads up to people, we will not be doing an over it tomorrow at noon. That is my fault because I have a doctor's appointment that I cannot reschedule, and I'm the person who produces these shows. So we won't be there, but we will be there on Saturday at 10 a.m. and every day this week. Julie and I will be here for the Mayday Morning Show.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.